Good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to another edition of The Spiral of Wisdom, the Satsang started by Manise many moons ago, the founder of ancient wisdom. And before we continue, may I request that we all mute our speakers till we actually want to discuss in a participation and participate in a discussion. So, before we continue, may I request Swati to say the school prayer.
Good evening, everyone. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom, O hidden light, shining in every creature, O hidden love, embracing all in oneness, may each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Thank you.
Thank you, Swati. So, now that we've reminded ourselves that we are really that hidden light, vibrant in every atom, and that hidden love that embraces all of us in oneness, let us connect with our higher selves by sitting straight with our back, neck, and head aligned. Let us call upon our higher self, our beloved Guru, our Ishtadeva, with all the love in our heart. Visualize that great sacred one with all the love that you have. Experience the joy and the love and the deep respect. These emotions are the key to transit into that higher state of consciousness. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Oh, beloved higher self, may we all experience the best value from the satsang and take that value back into our lives and live those values in the best possible way, so powerfully that people around us are also touched by the higher consciousness. So once again, we have our dear speaker, Veera Raghava Acharya Ji, once again with us for another edition of his wisdom. The topic for today's satsang is reason, revelation, and Vedic mind. Over to you, Acharya Ji.
श्रीवत्सवंशकलशोदधिकौस्तुभस्य श्रीवासराघवगुरोस्तनयं ततश्च विद्या अवाप्य विबुधोत्तमतां दधान् कुर्वे सदा हृदि गुरुं करुणाकराख्यं रामानुजदया पात्रं ज्ञानवैराग्यभूषणं श्रीमद्वेङ्कटनाथार्यं वन्दे वेदान्तदेशिकं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये माता पिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वय भट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसार कुलशेखर योगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणु परकाल यतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम् Namaste. The topic that we are going to see this time is reason, revelation, and the Vedic mind. Let us try to understand the topic a little. Reason here does not mean reason for this, reason for that. Of course, we are referring to reasoning, right? When we try to analyze something, That is called reasoning. So whatever we arrive at through logical reasoning, we call it as reason. Revelation is when you are not doing that reasoning. Let us say you're a person like me, not very hardworking, not very thoughtful, with a blank mind for most of the day. You could call it meditation, but it would actually be sleep. But if you are such a kind of a person, is it impossible for you to know anything? Of course not. We have seen historically several examples of people who by themselves were not able to reason that much, but were helped by others. How does it work? Let us forget reasoning for a minute. Let us think about education. Not even education, literacy, the ability to read and write. Now, in our country, in India, we had a king called Akbar. Everybody knows about him, very famous monarch, correct? They even call him Akbar the Great. But this Akbar the Great could not really read or write. Yet he is called the Great because even though he himself was illiterate, he kept the best people with him, the best advisors. He had the very best people with him to give him advice. So, what he could not arrive at, he was a very intelligent person. His ability to reason was quite good. But without prior knowledge, even with your reasoning skills, you might not be able to progress much. So, what helped Akbar? Whatever truths were revealed to him by his advisors helped Akbar to maintain such a large country. So, large kingdom. So, there is something called revelation where something is revealed to you. Even if I sleep all day, if I have good people like you to come and help me and say, Veera Raghava Ji, this is what happened. This works this way, that works that way. You don't have to study. We will tell you everything. We will tell you the exact questions that will come in the exam tomorrow. You can go and give the exam and you can clear your boards that way. So if you were to tell me that way, how nice it would be. But this is not from my own work. This is from your work. Let us go a little further. I have my board exam tomorrow. I have slept all day. Why will you come and tell me the questions for tomorrow's exam, assuming that you know that these are the most probable questions for tomorrow's exam based on your analysis of all the previous year's examinations and so on? Why would you want to come and help me? For you to help me, you should value me. But for you to value me, I cannot be sleeping every day, all day. I should have done something to make you think, okay, fine, let us help him as well. People who think, oh, he is totally hopeless. If we don't save him, he will definitely fail in the exam. Those kinds of people are very few. Usually, those who help are those who get something or have received something in prior. Maybe it is just friendship. Or maybe I look up to you. Whenever I have a doubt, I approach you. And therefore you think, okay, let us help him. He is dependent on us after all. So you reveal the most probable questions and topics to me. And through that, I study and clear the examination. In this way, revelation could also be helpful. The third part in the title is the Vedic mind. What is this Vedic mind? You go to a historian. The historian will say, oh, Vedas, they were something that were compiled somewhere around 2000 to 2500 years ago. You know, these Aryans who migrated from central, oh, sorry, I don't know. Wait, what is that? Steppes, oh, sorry, I don't know. What is that? Never mind, we are all discussing which exact place it is that they came from. But these people who came from such and such a place, they developed this language, which was very similar to Persian, Iranian, Proto-Indo-Iranian, they say, right? The root of Sanskrit. So they developed this scripture that is called the Veda. The way those people thought is what we call the Vedic mind. Are we looking at that Vedic mind? No. Of course, we do not accept whatever they are saying about the Veda. That's a different matter altogether. But when we say Vedic mind, we mean a mind that operates in a fashion that is consistent with the Veda. Now, there is this famous word called Vidya, right? It comes from with. Vidya, we say for education. Vidyalaya, we say for school. Correct? So, a center of education is called Vidyalaya. It is an alaya for Vidya. This Vidya is what you get through the Veda. Veda gives you the ultimate Vidya. Of course, the Vidya given by Veda is itself classified into two. Para Vidya, and so on. We are not going to get into that. Our aim in this series of lectures is not to understand every single line of the Veda, but to understand how our current minds, which are shaped by our knowledge, experiences, our day-to-day interactions with people and so on, could be further assisted by the guidance provided in the Vedic scriptures. That is what we are going to look at. But for that, we need to first understand how our mind works. We have discussed about it to some extent. We have even discussed about the qualities, gunas, the types of emotions we get, how to control them, how to control your mind. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha moksha yoho. We have cited a number of Sanskrit shlokas as well. So we are not going to do that. Definitely that is not what we are going to do. But we will look at reason and revelation. This is very important. Maybe if I present it in this way, the words sound very new and unique and so on. If I were to tell you something like science versus religion, it would be very popular, right? It's a hot topic since forever. Science versus religion. Science believes in reason. Religion believes in revelation. I cannot believe a revelation, but I can believe in reason because I can reason it out by myself. But if you have received the revelation and not me, then why can I believe? Why should I believe? How can I believe? All of those questions, right? So this debate, science versus religion, is a very unfortunate one. It is an unfortunate one, let me tell you. Back when I was in school, I was studying in something like 8th standard. Okay. I once went to my grandmother's home where I met my aunt, my maternal grandmother's home. I met my aunt. So I asked her some question after seeing the puja room. I don't remember the exact question, but she asked me back something that has stayed with me since then forever. She said, "You are just a school student. Why are you discussing philosophy or religion? You should be thinking about this when you have crossed 60. Even I am decades away from that age. Why are you thinking so much about it?" She was curious. She was fascinated by the fact that a schoolboy is discussing this. Nothing against her. But the point is, a lot of people focus on what is at hand, right? A bird in hand is worth two in a bush. Well, a bird in hand is better than even 20 in a bush. because you have it in your hand. That is the way people treat science. Science is something that is treated like a bird in hand, whereas scripture is treated like something in the bush. It is not with me. It is there, but it is not with me. I don't know whether it will come to me or not. I don't know whether it will help me or not. That is the way it is seen. So let us try to understand what really happens. You cannot live without reasoning. Therefore, science, which is developed out of reasoning and experimentation and a number of other things, cannot be ignored. At the same time, there is something called faith. Faith, right, is a very important thing. So, Ramesh ji, while talking about the verse that he recited, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, he mentioned a very beautiful point. He said, this is something that's very important for spiritual elevation. What do you mean by spiritual elevation? Am I going to increase in height by 2 centimeters? Am I going to go to the 15th floor from the 5th floor? What sort of elevation are you talking about? If I were to question in that way, it might sound funny and all that, but it means I'm missing the point. So in matters of spirituality, there are several things that are said that cannot be scientifically proven. You could show it with statistics at best. You could say people who followed this, they lived happily. No matter what happened, they were undisturbed. Therefore, they were living in a much more spiritually advanced state. We have seen such people in our lives. Our parents have seen. We are not talking about some 5,000 year ago person. So, there are things that can enter science, but there are things that do not enter science. A revelation, right? It has been revealed to me. It has been revealed to my gurus. I was scrolling through Instagram a while ago, some half an hour back. I saw this post, interesting post, very interesting post. It said it would help people to score well in UPSC. The post was about Shruti versus Smriti. Of course, the post had some factual inconsistencies about which I am not going to focus on. But when it said, look, something that is called Shruti is a direct revelation from God. And something that is Shruti is not a revelation from God, but a revelation from a human. I thought, wait, if a human comes up with something, would you really call it revelation? Technically, we could. Grammatically, it will always fit. But the way we talk about, some divine authoritative person coming and teaching us, Vishwamitra performed tapasya for so long, so long, that the great Deva, Brahmadeva, appeared in front of him. He asked, what do you want? Vishwamitra stated his boon. Brahma gave him the boon. There are so many such cases, right? How did Shukla Yajurveda come into existence? A great tapasya towards Surya Deva. And Surya Deva asks, what do you want? Please teach me that part of the Veda that my preceptor, that my Acharya never taught me. Because whatever he taught me, he asked me to forget. He asked me to vomit out everything that I consumed. Therefore, I need some new information, something new. Please teach me. Revelation. That is how it works. So let us look into this. Reason and revelation. It is very important for us to understand this. Why is it important? Because this is how we work. Whatever we think, whatever we do, it is either dependent on reason or revelation, or perhaps our understanding of that revelation. Let us see. So the first thing that should come to my mind when I think, reason on one side, revelation on the other side, what is it? Reasoning means I have seen it. Not necessarily physically, but perhaps metaphorically. I have seen that the quadratic formula minus b plus or minus root of b square minus 4ac by 2a works when I want to find the roots of a quadratic equation. I have seen it. I have seen the proof. Have I actually seen the numbers? Have I visually seen things? No, that's a metaphorical scene, right? So when we apply logic, when I try to find out, is this the right thing to do or not? The sky is very clear right now, but it is monsoon season. Yesterday it was raining the entire day, and today's forecast is also saying it should be a heavy rain. The sky is completely clear. Should I carry an umbrella or should I not carry an umbrella? It's a question that I ask and I reason it out. Okay, the sky is clear right now, but maybe some hours later it is going to rain. Why? Because I have this information. It has been revealed to me by Google that today's prediction is that of a heavy rainfall. It has been revealed to me by the meteorological department that today we are expecting rainfall. And I have observed myself that it is the season of monsoon. Therefore, although it is not raining right now, perhaps it would be better for me to carry the umbrella just to ensure that I don't get wet, just to ensure that I'm safe and sound, right? This is how reasoning works. So here I have seen the information myself. I have analyzed the information myself and I have made the conclusion. That is what we mean by seen. What is unseen? Things that have not been assessed by me. Things that have not been assessed by me. We used to say in Tamil Nadu, where we are closer to the Bay of Bengal than the Arabian Sea. There's a very different way in which the Bay of Bengal behaves when compared to the Arabian Sea. In the Bay of Bengal, things are erratic. So if it is monsoon season in Chennai, let us say December. In December, Chennai will see monsoon. What happens there? Suddenly, there would be a low pressure. Somewhere it would have formed, low pressure formed so many miles away, somewhere in Indochina. Then it will come from there all the way. It will develop into a big depression. Then suddenly we would get a flood alert, storm alert, cyclone alert, all of that we will get. So, in such a kind of a place where things are erratic, what is revealed to me might not necessarily work. Whatever is revealed to me might not necessarily work. For example, they would predict heavy rainfall, but the day would be sunny. They would predict very mild rainfall, but it would be a heavy shower. It is not that their prediction is incorrect. It is just that the information is changing so rapidly. The cyclone that was headed towards Chennai suddenly changed its course and went northward and hit the coast of Andhra. It moved further north and hit Odisha. These things have actually happened. So, there are things where we cannot see. There are cases where we cannot see by ourselves and we rely on revelation. And further, there are cases where even these revelations do not work. Now this is a problem. Of course, there are cases where whatever I see also does not work. I see the sky, it is sunny. I think there is no need for umbrella. I go outside and it starts raining all of a sudden. So, whatever is seen need not necessarily work all the time. But whatever is unseen and revealed to us is in general less believed by us. At least I have seen the sky. At least I know for a fact that it is clear right now. But you are telling me there is going to be very heavy rain. Where is the proof? So it is natural for the humans, that is us, to question the unseen. It's a very natural thing. In fact, a person who accepts the unseen blindly is often called stupid. The person who questions is called intelligent. That's how humans work. So, are we going to be intelligent? Are we going to be stupid? Can we be both? Let us see. Now, the current world, right? The contemporary world, it operates under a false dichotomy. It assumes that science and religion are enemies of each other, that reason and revelation are two different planes altogether. One is x-axis, one is y-axis. Where do they meet? At zero. That is what they think. It is incorrect. We many times think that whatever physical information, when I say physical information, it means information from the physical world, what we get through seeing, hearing, and so on, right? We many times assume it to be the absolute reality. We dismiss outside possibilities. Do we need an example? Let us refer the Ramayana for an example. Rama has gone to the forest. Dasharatha is in deep depression. He is crying. Kausalya is also crying. They have returned to the palace, knowing Rama has left. They saw Rama's chariot going away. Dasharatha tried following him but fell down and got unconscious. He is an old man. Now he is back in the palace, very sad that his son has left. At that time, Dasharatha narrates a story. He says, I know why this has happened. It is because of a mistake of the past. What mistake did I do in the past? Back in my younger days, I used to be, a very, very energetic person. Yes, I should do this, I should do that, that kind of a person. A person endowed with greater Rajoguna than Sattva Guna. As a result, once when I went on a hunting trip, I was there in the forest. I heard the sound of an animal drinking water, and knowing myself to be an expert archer who does not have to look at the enemy to fire, all I need is just the sound of the enemy. With the sound, I would calculate the position and quickly hit. That is what I'm famous for. I'm such a great archer. I was such a great archer even back then. Proud of my archery skills. As soon as I heard the sound of an animal drinking water, I shot an arrow. But when I went there to see, I saw a young boy struggling for life. I realized at that moment that this boy is going to die within the next 1 or 2 minutes. My aim was perfect. I shot him. The sound that I had received and heard was correct. It was that of water. But It was not an animal drinking water. It was the small boy. It was a small boy who had gone there to collect water. So I took the physical information. My ears heard the sound. I took that as information. I took that as reality. Yes, an animal is drinking water. Let me fire the arrow. I dismissed the deeper possibility. Why? Oh, if it's a forest, forest has to have only animals. No. What the hell is a human doing in a forest? I am here in the forest because I am hunting animals. Who else will come here? I am the king of this country. I can go anywhere. I am here. Other humans will not come. There are wild animals everywhere. Dismissing the deeper possibilities, the deeper wisdom. Of course, the only wisdom that was missed by Dasharatha, we can't say that Dasharatha's only missed wisdom was that it could have been a human. Let us say it was an animal. What right did Dasharatha have to kill it for sport? That's an even bigger mistake, right? If you go deeper and deeper into wisdom, you would question, okay, he mistook that person. We call him Shravana Kumara today. He mistook that boy for an animal and he shot him. But let us assume that it was an animal instead of the boy. Would it have been justified for Dasharatha to hit it and kill it? What did the animal do? What wrong did the animal do to deserve such a fate? You could question even further, right? Dasharatha never thought that much. He cared only about what was visible. What is visible? Forest. What do I hear? The sound of drinking water. Okay, let me shoot. It is not just during the days of Ramayana that this mistake was committed. Please think. This is a mistake that is done here, right now in 2026 by plenty of us, perhaps all of us, every now and then, on a day-to-day basis. Whatever our sense organs pick, by what we see and what we hear and what we feel when our hands touch something or body touches something, we quickly make conclusions. You know, there are times when a feather, just a feather, or just a leaf from the tree fell and I got shocked. Something is on my body. What is it? I would think it's an insect or an animal. Something has come all of a sudden, right? I would panic for a second. And then in 2-3 seconds, I would get calm. Okay, it's just a feather. Oh, it's just a leaf that fell. It is not some insect or anything. There's nothing to be worried about. So in 2-3 seconds, reasoning helped me. But what happened before? Where was this reasoning? When I first felt it, when I felt the leaf on my body, when I felt it falling on my neck, why was I not able to use logical reasoning and think, oh, it could also be a leaf. I don't have to panic that much. There is a 50-50 probability. Let me first check. I never checked that way. What was logical reasoning doing? So, reasoning has a number of limitations. I'm not saying reasoning is bad. Reasoning is necessary and it's extremely powerful. We will look at it in a deeper way eventually. But the point is that when you look at how the Vedic mind functioned, it tried to strike a balance between what is seen and directly witnessed, and therefore what is calculated, as well as what is revealed. This is the beauty of the Vedic mind. So a person 2 centuries ago called Charles Darwin, he came up with the theory of evolution. Of course, the modern theory of evolution is to some extent different from what he had said. Here and there were some mistakes that he did. And there are still a number of unknowns. When this theory of evolution was presented, the people in his country, they all started panicking. Oh no, he is going against faith. He is going against faith. How can we accept such a thing? When that theory was presented to us, we said, okay, let it be true. So what? Some years later, when it was said, no, Darwin also made some mistakes. Okay, let it be. So what? Indians who have had Vedic ancestors, it is not necessary for all of us to have studied the Vedas, right? The majority of Indians have never touched the Vedas. You would find people calling themselves Chaturvedi. Go and ask them, what are the 4 Vedas? You might find a person who cannot even list the Vedas, but the name would still be Chaturvedi. How? Their ancestor at some point of time would have been a master of all the 4 Vedas. The point is, even if we do not open the scriptures, even if we do not go for the traditional system of education, we do not go to the Gurukula, we do not learn from the palm leaf manuscripts like the one shown in the image, even if we do not do that, even if we focus only and only on modern things, like this chipset that I have shown here, semiconductors, let us say, it shouldn't really matter because we carry with us the ancient wisdom that has been passed on by our ancestors. One important aspect of this wisdom is the bridge between reason and revelation. The scriptures reveal to me about how the earth got created, how the universe got created. With reasoning, the scientists are saying this is how evolution has actually happened. I am able to accept both and still live. I don't have a conflict in my mind. Oh no, this is saying this way, that is saying that way. Which one is right? Which one is wrong? I am not fighting it out in my mind, nor am I fighting it out with others. Why are the majority of Indians this way? It is because we were presented with ancient wisdom that might not have been passed down in the form of you going and studying the scripture, but was definitely passed down in the form of ordinary interaction between the older generation and the younger generation. We learned it. I may not remember when I learned it or how I learned it or what my father said or mother said, but this is how I behave. So the Vedic mind, because it follows the Vedic approach, right? It has something special. What is that? The Vedic synthesis reveals that these two, science and whatever they call religion. Now, religion is a very difficult term. I'm trying to avoid the term because it's a very heavy term. It has many definitions. Let us not get there. Let us just stick to words that we can understand, even if they may not be very common. Like what? A revelation. So the Vedic synthesis reveals that reason and revelation are not at opposite sides of the spectrum. On the contrary, they are complementary to each other. How? Take one as the left wing, take the other as the right wing, flap both your wings and you fly. Flap just one wing, you would struggle. You may jump, but you cannot fly properly. You need 2 wings to fly high. If you want spiritual elevation, you need reason as well as revelation. You need both the wings. And therefore, we must move beyond the illusion of a self-contained purely material rationalism. Oh, I can see this, therefore I believe this. I cannot see that, therefore I don't believe that. This approach is wrong. In my entire life, I have never seen Antarctica. Am I going to disbelieve in the existence of Antarctica because I have never seen it? If I were to do that, even those who claim to follow science would laugh at me. I have never seen Antarctica, nor have I ever seen any proof of the existence of Antarctica. If you have any proof of the existence of Antarctica that I can feel using my eyes or my ears or my hands, please show me. I'm not going to travel out of India, but you have to prove to me. What will you do? So, even for us to accept science, which is a result of reason, we indulge in the practice of revelation. My school science textbook, back when I was in primary school, it told me there are 7 continents in the world: Africa, Asia, North America, South America, Europe, Australia, and Antarctica. My primary school textbook told me. It revealed to me that there are 7 continents. I didn't bother to question. Asia and Europe are literally connected by land, but you're calling them 2 different continents. India, if you are aware, the subcontinent of India was at one point of time just an island, right? So after the period of Pangaea, what happened? The island split. It kept moving eastwards. First, it moved a bit southeast, then it started moving northeast. Eventually, it merged with Asia, thereby forming the Himalayas. Did I ever see any of this? No. Have I ever been to the Himalayas? Big no. But do I believe in it? Well, it is scientific. I believe in it because my science textbook says so. I believe in it because my textbook says so. What is that called? That is called revelation. The textbook is revealing knowledge. When they publish research papers, they cite 100 other papers. I have done this research. Okay, but the top research paper. For doing this research, I have taken references from a number of other studies. While my findings might be a little different from some of those studies, a large number of the references that I have given are completely given as proof for my statements. What am I doing? I am believing. Have I seen the proof? No, I haven't. Is it working? Yes, it is working. Can I cite it? Yes, I can cite. This is how even the scientific field works. So, you should not treat reason and revelation as 2 opposing forces. You should treat it as twin wings. One wing, the second wing. With both, you flap and you would fly. So, if you want to rise spiritually, you need both reason and revelation. They should go and cooperate with each other. They should be synchronous. Think about it. Have you seen birds flap their wings? When flapping the left wing down, if it flaps the right wing up, how will it fly? What would happen if the left wing is down and the right wing is up? It will start turning. If you want to just get elevated, what should you do? You should keep them in a synchronous way. That is very important. Moving on, we spoke a little bit about the limits of perception. Let us understand it a little more with just one more example. This is again something that was taught to me in school. But this time I believe it was something like high school or higher secondary. I don't remember exactly. The electromagnetic spectrum, they call it. You don't have to worry if you don't understand or you don't remember. That's not a big deal. But what they taught us is that visible light is only a certain extent. From some range to some range, it is called visible light. Then there is something called invisible light that we cannot see. Likewise, there is something called audible sound. Sound also, although light wave and sound wave are different from each other, they are of different types. Even in the context of sound, they would say, oh, whatever you can hear is from 20 decibel to something like 20,000 decibels. Below that or above that, you cannot hear, but that is also sound. That is also sound, but you cannot hear it. That is also light, but you cannot see it. What are they saying? Light that cannot be seen, sound that cannot be heard. They are all accepted in science. But what do they go on to prove? They prove that the human senses are restrictive biological filters. They are restrictive. To some extent, they will help you grasp. Beyond that, they cannot help you. To some extent, yes, they help you grasp. And that is good. Something is better than nothing. I am not the topper of the class, but I at least passed the exam. I'm happy. So they help, there is no doubt. But there is a restriction. There is a limitation. They are restrictive biological filters. They are not infallible objective windows. So the term might be very technical to see. Infallible means something that is always correct. It can never be disproved, but it is not like that. So I was traveling by car from Trichy to Chennai. It was not even summer season. Yet I saw water in front of me in the road, in the reflection. The water was reflecting everything. It was reflecting the sky, it was reflecting the clouds. What was I really seeing? In English, there is a term for it. It is called mirage. What is a mirage? Mirage is an illusion. In deserts, you often see this kind of a phenomenon. It is called a mirage. You would see water, you would go near it, but in reality, there would be only sand. So, our human senses are restrictive biological filters. They are not infallible. Therefore, you cannot say that whatever passes through my eye, whatever passes through the attention of my eye, whatever passes through the attention of my ear, all of that is perfect. We cannot say that. We cannot rely solely on the seen. Likewise, we cannot rely solely on the unseen. And remember the meaning of seen I told you before? Seen meaning you have actually realized it. If you haven't realized, if you have just felt it, there is a big difference between feeling and realization. Please listen carefully. This is a very important thing. There is a very, very big difference between feeling and realization. A large number of people do not know the difference between the two. Feeling happy is different from realizing happiness. I feel that this person should be kept far away. Oh, she looks ugly. Let me call her a witch and throw her into the water. If she drowns, it means she was innocent. If she floats, I will say she is using witchcraft to float on water, and therefore we will send her underwater. There were people who actually did this. There were people who actually did this kind of a practice. Fortunately, not anywhere near where we live in the Indian subcontinent, but that is nothing to be proud of. The point is, we feel things based on a lot of things. Many times our biases also come in. Several times we may not understand the deeper aspect. Maybe physically this person is not attractive, but that's a restriction created by my mind, who defined beauty in such and such a way. Maybe mentally she is a super intelligent person, she is a genius, or she is the most compassionate human alive. Maybe spiritually she is 10,000 times more advanced than me. I do not know. So can I rely solely on whatever I have seen? I should not. Can I rely solely on whatever I have not seen? No, I should not. It is a problem. We need to come out of this apparent problem. When we think there is a problem, that is when we start thinking, okay, there is a possible solution as well. So there is a wall, right? There is a wall that is of inference. There is something to be understood by us, a little technical, and therefore a little difficult, not necessarily intuitive. Therefore, a large number of people do not get into this. Is it absolutely necessary to understand this for spiritual elevation? I wouldn't say so. But it is good to know, as it could help you to counter certain enemies that block your way when you try to get spiritually elevated. So for the seeker, there are certain pieces of information that are helpful. Treat it as revelation if you want, or think about it, reason it out, and then take it as reasoning. But at the end of the day, I am taking the session. If you want to attend, you have to listen. It's as simple as that. And I am saying that there are three things, actually more, but three important things that we need to understand. If you want to do a logical inference, which is called anumana, if you had seen the previous slide, there was a word called pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means direct inference. Direct inference means inference through our sense organs. That is called pratyaksha. Another is anumana. It is logical inference. This anumana requires a starting point. I cannot apply logical reasoning on nothing. I need some information, then I can do all the process. You know, data science, they say it's such a hot field, even the fresher earns a lot of money. The fresher doesn't earn a lot of money if he has to do data cleaning, but that's a different thing. Now, data science works because of data. If you do not have data, data science will not work. Likewise, AI, such a booming field, right? AI was developed by using neural networks and so on. How do all of them work? With information only. If I tell something to ChatGPT, how is it able to understand and respond to me? Because it is able to reply to me because it has been trained with information, foundational information that it does not question. If it is told this is the meaning of this word means this, that word means that, it has been given a dictionary. This dictionary is foundational. It cannot do anything without the dictionary. And therefore, anumana requires a starting point. If you do not have a starting point, a foundational axiom that you're not going to question for proof, why should I believe that PDF means this ebook and Word file means document? What if it's the other way around? ChatGPT doesn't question that way, right? When it was trained as a model, it was directly told, this is what PDF means, this is what Word document means, everything, it was already told. That is very important. If you do not have any starting point, you cannot do any logical reasoning. And if you have the wrong starting point, even if your reasoning is perfect, your conclusion, inference would be incorrect. This is very, very important to understand. Garbage in, garbage out. If you start with the wrong assumption, oh, the scripture is useless. What would it have? Old people, ancient people, they had no technology. They wrote something so that they could control the population. One group of invaders wrote it to control all the native population. What will I gain by studying it? If I start with that kind of a starting point, what kind of inference will I get? I will miss out everything. The great teachings of Bhagavad Gita, the great teachings outside of the Bhagavad Gita, I will miss everything. So let us be cautious of this infinite regress that would be risked when the foundational axioms are absent or incorrect. Let's just say that when the appropriate, necessary foundational axioms are absent, there is the risk of endless infinite regress. The second thing that we should know is about circular reasoning. It's very simple. You know, I once spoke to a person in Tamil Nadu, and they said the following. We Tamils were a totally different people. We followed a different religion until you Aryan invaders came with this Sanatana Dharma. So I asked, okay, what were you following? How were you different? He said, I don't know. Then I asked him, what is the proof? He said, the proof is that I don't know. I asked him, how can that be a proof? If you do not know, how can that be a proof? He said, I do not know because you destroyed our religion. You destroyed our religion. Therefore, I know nothing about my religion. And the fact that I know nothing about my religion proves that you destroyed my religion. What was this gentleman doing? It is circular reasoning. Of course, the majority of the people of Tamil Nadu are very intelligent. But once in a while, you see these people, not just in the context of spirituality or religion or things like that, they indulge in circular reasoning elsewhere as well. So it's a very bad thing, you know. A is true because B is true. Okay, why is B true? B is true because C is true. Okay, why is C true? C is true because A is true. That is circular reasoning. You don't really have a direct reason. Now that you have understood what circular reasoning is, let me tell you that pure logic is circular. What? You were just attacking circular reasoning all this while, and suddenly you are saying pure logic is circular? Well, by pure logic, I mean that logical reasoning is just a process. Depending on the input, it gives an output. Can it actually prove itself? It cannot. Pure logic cannot internally prove its own foundational presuppositions without external validation. You gave me this data, I gave you this output. You give me some other data, I will give you some other output. Whether the data is correct or not, how will I know? I know only the process. If your input is correct, then my output is correct. If your input is wrong, then my output is wrong. So if you ask me whether the input itself is correct, I cannot tell you. Because I work only because the foundational presupposition is there, the foundational axiom is there, the foundational assumption is there. Without that foundational assumption, I cannot work. If you give me some information to process, that information has been given for the very first time and you are asking me, is this correct or not? I will not know. If there is no external source. So when you ask Google, for example, is this true? And you type something, the world is going to end in 2 days. Is this true? Google will tell you, no, it is not true. There is no proof. But how does Google answer? It goes for external validation. It looks at external content and then it sees and understands and then tells you. That's how the AI overview works. So let us understand this part. Finally, there is something called hidden axiom. Many axioms that are not very popular, not openly claimed, are actually at play. Axiom is something that has not yet been proved. It's like a starting assumption. Like y is 2, 1 greater than 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Why? Why is 1 plus 1 2 and not 1 plus 3? You can't question that. You have to assume 1 plus 1 is 2, otherwise the number system will not work. So, in numbers itself, we have this concept of axiom. The first time I learned the word axiom was in mathematics, not in any other field. Naturally, modern secular rationalism would also have axioms. They would say, no, we are very rational. There is nothing that we will not believe in without any proof. But they would actually be believing in plenty of such things. At their foundation, they would also be having a good number of axioms. It is just that these axioms are hidden. They are hidden beneath the surface. They are supporting the entire structure. You see the structure, you see the building, you do not see what is there in the basement. So, this has to be thought about. You should think about these kinds of things. So, I will just take 1-2 minutes to cover this. A lot is written. I will try to very easily cover it. There is something called blind faith. I tell you something, you believe me immediately. It may work, may not work. It depends, right? It depends on who I am, what information I am giving, on what basis I am giving, how you are interpreting, how you are understanding, how you are using. It depends on all of that. Therefore, it has some risk. But if you start with a hypothesis, it may work in a much better way. This is what they teach you ultimately in science as well. This is what they ultimately teach you in management as well. You go to Harvard and Stanford and they will teach you, keep a hypothesis. See what you can predict. See what you can measure. With measurable metrics, try to keep hypotheses and work towards them. That would help you in your business goals. Why have they arrived at that? Because actual Shraddha, actual epistemic trust, it works in that way. How does it work in that way? Why does it work in that way? We will discuss in the next session. But for now, let me conclude by saying that along with this pratyaksha, whatever my senses are getting, and with anumana, logical reasoning that I am doing, maybe I need something more. And that something more is what we traditionally call Shabda. It is the Vedic revelation. It is an intricate topographical, forget the complex word, it is no big deal. But it is like a map, a trail map. It tells you the path charted by realized sages, great people, great beings who realized out of great compassion, they gave us the map. They gave us the path. Of course, you should have the courage to walk the path and see. Right? That is up to us. But this path is there. The path has been given by sages. We call that as the revelation. Therefore, let us not stick to reason alone. Let us learn to value revelation as well. With that, I would like to conclude the first session on this topic. If any of you has any question, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Acharya Ji. That was really very interesting and involving. It really kind of put us through a self-inquiry process of how we perceive the world around us through our senses and what lies beyond those senses. How can we perceive it in a more accurate manner? These are some of the thoughts that ran through when you spoke. So please do ask your questions. Now we're throwing the floor open for questions. Thank you. There are a couple of comments in the chat box. There's Laminarji, he says, I think Akbar's mom, being a devotee of Lord Ram, helped him as well to be great, I suppose. And infallible I equals Sanjay, the one who could see the Bhagavad Gita as it happened remotely.
Yes. So those are actually really good comments. The first one about Akbar's mother being a devotee of Lord Rama. So Akbar, although he was illiterate, he was not formally educated. That is what we said, but he had some amount of informal education. This is what helped him in his spiritual pursuit. Starting from the time he was a child, from the time his association with his mother, till the time he was old, he was also on a spiritual journey. Now, we are not going to say that he was on the same spiritual journey as the great sages mentioned in the Ramayana. Of course not. He lived a totally different life. He had a totally different belief system. He did not even believe in Islam completely. He ended up creating a new faith called Deeni Ilahi. All of that is there. But what was he trying to arrive towards? He was, perhaps, to say it in the words used by uh, people like Rameshji here, he was trying to arrive at the inner light that enlightens all living beings. That one inner light, that one, something is common. Yes, there is something in common. I think people here are saying, the practitioners of Islam, they are understanding the Supreme Being in a totally different way. The Hindus here, they are understanding the Supreme Being in a totally different way. Maybe there is something in common. Let me try to arrive at that common point. Yes, he was a spiritual seeker, no doubt. We may not wish to comment on his alignment, conclusions, and ultimate destination or actions taken, and so on, because those are all subject to, history books and constant debates. But we should definitely say that, yes, he also had that inclination, and that may have very well been due to his mother's association with Ramayana caused by her Rama Bhakti. As for the second comment, the infallible I, Sanjaya saw things the way they happened, but he received the infallible I not out of reason, but out of revelation. And therefore, he was able to reveal. Again, Dhritarashtra did not understand what was going on in the battlefield through reason. He understood it through revelation. When through reason he tried to kill Bhima after the battle, it failed because the revelation of Krishna was perfect. So, Mahabharata is a very interesting topic. We could speak on and on about it. I see one more message. It says, Swami, you said, Rakshit ji has said, Swami, you said faith and dharma are like two. No. I said reason and revelation are like two wings. Reason means logical reasoning. Revelation means faith. Logical reasoning does not mean dharma. Okay. I will do logical reasoning. I will find out that smoking is injurious to health. I go to a shop, I buy a pack of cigarettes. What will it say? It will say something like smoking is injurious to health. Like how they show in movies. No, smoking causes cancer. Smoking kills. After that, they show the hero smoking. So, is that what we are going to do? Yes, we have the logical reasoning. I have the reason. I know that smoking causes cancer, but I still smoke. I'm addicted to it. How do I come out of it? So, reason does not guarantee spiritual elevation. Reason does not guarantee correct action. Forget about spirituality. Even outside the realm of spirituality, reason does not necessarily guarantee correct action. But if reason is combined with revelation, the revelation would give you the guidance on how to use that reason. What we call as Sanatana Dharma. That Sanatana Dharma is based on our knowledge of Sanatana Dharma. It is ultimately based on the Vedas. Vedo Khilo Dharma Moolam. The roots of the knowledge of Dharma that we have are the Vedas. They are the most ancient scriptures that openly discuss the concept of Sanatana Dharma. Now, these Vedas, they tell us that we need both wings, the wing of reason and the wing of revelation. This is the teaching of Sanatana Dharma. So when you have reason and revelation as your two wings, that is Sanatana Dharma. Mahabharata says, Dharanat Dharma Ityahu. Dharanat Dharma. Due to dharana, due to sustaining, it is called Dharma. Dharma is that which sustains. When you have two wings and you flap them, you would be able to sustain yourself in the air. What is sustaining you? Both the wings acting in a synchronous manner. That is Dharma. So as far as your last part of the comment is concerned, let's assume something is right from the left side. In that situation, what should be done? We are not saying that something that is right from one side would be wrong from the other side. We are saying that logical reasoning is just a process. Sometimes it would give you the correct answer, sometimes it would give you the wrong answer. That is why I said garbage in, garbage out. If I were to create my own AI model, but I teach it that 1 plus 2 equals 5, not 3, then it will give me the correct wrong answer only. Simple as that. So, what is right and what is wrong is not known to logic. That is where revelation comes in. When you combine the two, you will automatically be able to arrive at what is correct. That is what we are saying.
Jai Sriman Narayana Acharya Ji.
Yes. Jai Sriman Narayana. Please tell me.
Acharya Ji, I also think that the Pratyaksha Praman fanatic were also responsible for the death of great scientists like Stephen Bozeman and all these things. Because Ostmack didn't like the idea of atom because he only believed that atom is invisible, so it does not exist. And Bozeman used atom to draw kinetic theory of gases. And Bozeman was so tortured by Mach and anti-atomists that he committed suicide.
Something new about the history of science that we learn every day. Thank you for that piece of knowledge.
Now, there's one last question rather, because we're just about running out of time. Jannat ji says, what if we only have knowledge of reason on some matters?
See,
how does it work then?
Excellent question. There is something called knowledge. There is something called reason. There is something called knowledge of reason. There is something called reason of knowledge. So, Naturally, we do not have complete knowledge. We say a human mind can remember so much, so much, so much. You ask me what I ate in the morning, I will not remember. So we have constraints in terms of memory, even in terms of how much information we know. Known is a drop, unknown is an ocean. You consume an entire ocean of knowledge and then see outside, still known would be a drop and unknown would be an ocean. It would never change. You will never get infinite knowledge as long as you're here. When you have infinite knowledge, it is called moksha. That is the only state where we say you have infinite knowledge. But then that is a state of perfection. In that situation, there is no problem that you would have. Right now, you would have knowledge only on some matters. That is natural. That is how it works. You should see what is necessary. Is this matter necessary to me? In this matter, what all knowledge is necessary to me? For obtaining that knowledge, what all procedures are necessary for me? Based on this knowledge, what all types of reasoning are necessary for me? This should be your approach. If you follow this approach, it would give you a much better way of experiencing life. It wouldn't solve every single problem. We do not guarantee that, but it would definitely minimize as much as possible.
Thank you, Acharya Ji. On that note, we've just about come to the end of our satsang today. So let us do a collective prayer. Please remember your loved ones or those in your community who you might want to send our collective prayers to. Remember their name and what situation they're going through. Collective prayers always have a tendency to be very powerful, exponentially powerful. Also, let us send out vibrations of peace, love, and wisdom to the world at large. May the leaders lead their countries in a dharmic manner, everywhere around the world. And may everybody's consciousness be raised. Please sit straight with your back, neck, and head aligned so that the prana shakti flows through well. Take a nice deep breath. And let go. Observe the silence and be in the moment. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Tat Sat Brahmarpanamastu. Once again, I'd like to thank Acharya Ji for that lovely satsang that we had today, that made us think, that made us identify sometimes that we need to drop the thought and move on to a higher intuition or higher levels of consciousness to figure out the best way to be in any situation. So once again, Acharya Ji, thank you so much. And to all here, we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Please do inform your friends and loved ones of our satsangs. And do spread that higher consciousness to the communities, to your communities, as you go back into the world. Thank you and God bless you.